Hey guys, and welcome to Quality Shot and the second edition of the Quality Shot Boxing Awards. It's 2021. We've come to the end. It's been a whirlwind, as I'm sure it has been for all of you watching as well. As a quick breakdown before I introduce our guests, we're going to be doing category awards. We'll go through it. I'll timestamp the video at the end as well so you can keep track of what we are discussing. We've got Kev from Cal actually, or Kali even. So Magic Channel, if you do want to check out his channel, do check it out. But obviously knows his boxing as well. Mohammad, who I'm sure you guys have noticed doing a lot of the live streams and joined me as well. He has many a nickname, but we'll keep that for later, according to some subscribers. And Musharaf as well, who's been on previously as well. How are you all doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Great.
It's been
all
a
good, thanks.
good festive period.
Yeah.
we sound more drained than we do rested.
I don't
But
speak over each other.
Sounds like you've all been working. But yeah, don't worry, they're well rested for the festive period. But yeah, so let's get straight in. Let's go straight in to prospect of the year, which I know Mohammad's already given his answer. Hate you, Mohammed. Anyway, let's go to Musharaf first. Musharaf, prospect of the year. Who have you put? You can give a couple of names to throw out there as well if you want.
I kind of knew this one quite easily, and I didn't make like a list or anything. But my prospect of the year is Keyshawn Davis.
Okay,
so
yeah,
he's
American
a young
prospect.
top-ranked fighter. So I've picked. The way I looked at it was someone who's got, say, less than 10 fights and is really starting out, and is just someone to look at over the next, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. And yeah, I think he won silver in the Olympics. And yeah, like I said, signed to Top Rank, and yeah, I think he'll go on and do big things.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Mohammed, who have you put?
that's a good suggestion. I picked someone who's slightly more known and has slightly more fights, and someone that I think most people will know, which is Conor Benn, because he doesn't have a world title yet, but he's progressively been in harder fights year upon year, honing his skills, becoming less of the type of fighter that headhunts, and is a bit more kind of professional and mature in the way he approaches things. I think as a result, he's a bit of a prospect of the year coming forward into 2022 in the welterweight division. So that's why I've picked Conor Benn.
Okay, Kev, what about you?
So who I've picked is something that, it's debatable if you'd call him a prospect, but I've chosen Joe Joyce. I think his last fight against Carlos Takam actually projected him quite well to have a chance of going for the heavyweight world titles. I know he has a couple of titles, especially after he beat Dubois, but I still kind of consider him a prospect because he hasn't had the big fight yet.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I mean, I think it's a loose term, isn't it? I think you can do what Mohammad has done, or you can do what Musharaf's done, or you, Kev. I think all of you have kind of looked at it in a slightly different way. I've got a few here, actually completely different to what you guys have said, and maybe a bit of a mixture, but let me know what you guys think. I put Jared Anderson, the young heavyweight from Top Rank. Really exciting heavyweight. He looks really good. I think he beat, I think it was Telesco recently. Teslenko, there you go, thank you. Who is a decent heavyweight, and Jared Anderson's only 21, if I'm not mistaken. Jaron Ennis as well. So Jaron Boots Ennis had a really good year, I thought.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether he's prospect of the year. Maybe he goes to most improved, or looking at for next year potentially category instead. But I put him in there. Virgil Ortiz as well, but again, he might be a little bit past prospect. And I put someone who me and you have seen, Mohammed. I'm pretty sure Musharaf and Kev will probably have heard of him, at least Dennis McCann, who's a big prospect. Frank Warren loves him. He's a really, really good fighter, and he's faced a couple of now like decentish fighters where he can test himself. I think he looks like a really good fighter. We've all chosen different people. Is there any of the names that other people have said that people are thinking sound good, or are you all happy to stick with your fighters?
I can actually I probably can see why Dennis McCann could be prospect of the year, given that I did see him fight, and he looked really good, to be honest, in that fight against I think it was it Gerardo, potentially was the fight that we had seen recently this month. So yeah, I could go with him. I remember you mentioning he's almost like a Nas in terms of his approach, like a Nasty Mohammed. So I think he's pretty good, pretty good. I could potentially go with him.
Yeah, if we can't
he's had
agree
3
on an
fighters,
answer between the three of us, I'd take Dennis McCann too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm happy
Cool.
to go with that.
Kevil's like, yeah, I'm easy. Yeah, cool. Let's go Dennis McCann. I mean, he's young. He's had 3 fights this year. Was he 2 points victory and also a TKO as well. I mean, his last 2 opponents are even 15-4 and 20-4, so not bad. I know the Gerardo, they've faced a lot of Argentinians, obviously, which is from his native country, but faced a couple of decent fighters before facing Dennis McCann. So we'll give it to him. I think he's a prospect in the, in the light of things, and some of the other suggestions were good as well. Let's go on to a really exciting category.
And
fight
he's like
of the
20
year.
as well. He's really young.
He's 20. Yeah, he's really young. Yeah, that's why I think it makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. He's 20, southpaw, got power in both hands. A bit, as I said, I mean, whisper it quietly, but a bit like Nassim Mohammed. And Frank Warren's favorite fighter, so he'll be really happy. So I'll send Frank Warren a DM to tell him. Fight with he's won quality shot of the year, prospect of the year, fight of the year. Let's go on to that. Fury Wilder 3 comes off the top of my head. I've just kind of thrown it in there, but there's gonna be loads of other suggestions, I'm sure. Kev, I'll go to you first for fight of the year.
That was actually my one as well. I think it's also because I watched it in person with you two. The adrenaline was good, and there was knockdowns on both sides of with both people, which is kind of rare to get that. It's usually just one person being dropped. This time it was 2 knockdowns. Well, I think from each, and then a knockout. So yeah, that had to be my top.
Yeah, agreed. Mohammad, what about you? What was your fight of the year?
Same. No, I put Fury Wilder 3 as well. It was exciting. It was an exciting fight to watch. Obviously, the knockdowns on both sides, as Kev mentioned. I think Fury got knocked down twice in the 4th round as well in that fight. So there were moments where you thought Fury was going to lose, and the moments where you thought Wilder was going to lose, and it was exciting. It was a bit of a slugfest. It wasn't, strictly speaking, a very technical boxing fight to watch. And there is an argument that Fury came into the fight slightly below his expected fitness that he would normally kind of go into a fight for. So in many respects, I think he approached it in a very kind of slugfesty way. But it's super exciting to watch. So that's why I've got it as my fight of the year.
Yeah, what was it? So he dropped Wilder 4 times in the end, or the 4th knockdown? I think was the KO, and then he got dropped twice himself. So that was pretty damn exciting.
It was 3-2. 3-2.
Was it 3-2?
I watched it yesterday.
3-2. Ah, very good. Yeah, 3-2.
Yeah.
I know BT did they did on Christmas Day. Actually, they showed all fights back to back. But yeah, I mean that's incredible, isn't it? And it was, as you said, Mohammad, as a topsy-turvy fight and definitely an edge of your seat fight that we enjoyed in person for sure. Musharaf, what about you?
So this is one of the categories where there's like a standout obvious answer. So Fury Wilder 3 for as first choice, but then a few others that I think are worth mentioning. I think Taylor Ramirez is definitely a contender for fight of the year. And there's another fight that I want to mention first in the category that I think it belongs, but I'll come back and I'll add it here too.
That's fine.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I think Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez was obviously an undisputed fight as well. So I think the fact of the importance of the fight,
stakes are really high.
Super lightweight. Yeah, super lightweight. The stakes, exactly as you said, really high. The quality was incredible. I think Ramirez got dropped twice, if I'm not mistaken. And Taylor fought really well, but it was quite nip and tuck, to be fair. I've also got here Chocolatito Estrada. I thought that was a really good fight, but very technical fight, and one more for the hardcore fans, not probably the casuals. And maybe this is a bit of recency bias, but I thought Parker Chisora was a really good fight as well.
That was more of a...
What was Chocolatito Estrada?
That was a robbery, though.
Yeah.
Chocolatito,
It was. And Parker Chisora 2 is a bit
anyway.
of recency bias. Yeah, Parker Chisora 2 is a little bit of recency bias because I saw it the other day, but I thought that was a good fight as well, to be fair. I'm not there because it was just like, as Mohammad said, a bit of a slugfest. But I think, we're happy to all go with Fury Wilder 3. I think that's the general consensus. Well done to those two fighters. Now to interesting one, upset of the year. I've got quite a few here noted. So I'm happy to go first because I feel like there's a few people unsure about upset of the year. So I'm happy to go first with this one. I've got a few noted and then I'll kind of chuck it out there.
Go for it.
I've got Martinez Galahad. So Kid Galahad losing to Kiko Martinez, getting knocked out. That was a big upset. Kambosos beating Teofimo Lopez. Obviously, me and Mohammad covered that. That was a really good fight. Josh Warrington versus Lara. So Lara beating Josh Warrington, knocking him out. And then also I've got one here which is probably gone a little bit off the radar, but it's really surprising, is Mikey Garcia losing to Sandor Martin. And you probably never heard of Sandor Martin, and that's why it's so surprising. So yeah, those are the four that I've listed down. Mohammad, who have you put?
So I had put Kombasos versus Lopez, mainly because Lopez obviously was the guy that beat Vasyl, and so I watched it as well with you, and we were both saying that Kombasos didn't really have a chance at the beginning of the fight before it started. So I think it's an upset in that I think a lot of people didn't give Kombasos the credit that he probably deserved coming into the fight, and considered him to be quite a strong underdog coming into the fight. But obviously, he dropped Teofimo in the first round and then went on to perform pretty well. Yeah, experienced some issues in the mid to late rounds, but managed to still stay on top of things and win with a pretty decisive points victory in our view, even though I think it was a split decision in the end. So I had Kombasos Lopez. However, I also think the Warrington Lara fight could also be a potential one, number one, because that was also a bit of an upset. So I think both of those are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we never heard of Lara, to be fair, until that fight. So that's probably why it's such a big upset, right? Musharaf, or Keval, let's go to you first. What do you have?
I actually agreed with the Kombasos versus Lopez. I think I think after Lopez's previous fight, how he beat Lomachenko, I think I would have expected him to win that one. So that was my top upset. I also wanted to put Usyk Joshua on there as well, because I did think that was, even though Usyk is a great fighter, I still consider that a big upset. But I'd probably steer towards the Kombasos as the biggest upset.
Yeah, I think Lopez beating Lomachenko was, I mean, a really good win. So I think Kombasos then in turn beating him was an upset for sure. Musharaf, what did you have for upset of the year?
You named both of my choices. So my first choice is Kombasos against Lopez. And then my second choice was Kiko Martinez against Galahad. The Lara fight against Warrington, I don't think it is as well. It's a big upset, but because if you look at it in terms of the other two are both world title fights, I don't think it's like at the same level. So even though it's a big upset, it's not at like the same scale, if that makes sense. But first choice is Kombasos for sure. At the time, I didn't get to watch it live because I think I had an exam like the day after or a couple of days after, so I had to watch it back. So I went back and watched everything. So all of the like pre-fight, like the fight week interviews and stuff like that. And I don't know if it was just me, but I felt like Lopez was in a completely different world. He didn't seem on his game. And I thought George Kambosos, he won like the whole mental game like he said he would in the build-up, and he had a big edge going into the fight.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think
the
you
cornering
made a
work
good
was
point.
awful. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was.
The
I think
cornering in
Teofimo
that fight
Lopez's
was the
dad
worst ever.
told him. I think we were watching Mohammad. I'm pretty sure his dad said something along the lines of calm down, and then basically knock him the F out in the same sentence, which was hilarious. So, probably not the most not the most refined corner work, to say the least. But yeah, I agree with you. I guess Warrington Lara's non-title, same with Mikey Garcia, Sandor Martin. So yeah, I think the general consensus is George Kambosos and his win over Teofimo Lopez, which was a very, very good win. So we'll stick with that. Let's go to most improved fighter of the year. I think, Mohammad, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So again, Conor Benn gets mentioned. I think even if he's not the prospect of the year, because obviously maybe he's a bit too old and experienced compared to the likes of Dennis McCann. I do think he is one of the most improved fighters of the year. As I was mentioning earlier, you know, his opponents have gotten harder over time, as you continue to rise up in the boxing ranks. His abilities have also improved. He's far more professional and mature in in his approaches. You know, I do think he was headhunting quite a lot in his early stages because that I'm sure that gives a lot of thrill for boxers, especially if you want to keep up a KO ratio and please the crowds and things like this. But I think he takes his time more now in his fights. He does a much better job of cutting off the ring now in his fights as well, I find. And he still carries that super strong knockout power, given the fact that his recent win against Algeria was like literally a 1-2 punch, which is really impressive. And yeah, obviously his last fight against Algeria is probably telling of how far he's come, because Algeria is not someone we don't know. We know who Algeria is. Yes, he's not necessarily one of the best welterweights, but still a good, tough contender to fight against. And he put him away in the fourth round. So I would give it to Conor Benn as most improved fighter of the year, in my view.
Yeah, I think Conor Benn has fought 3 times this year, and looking at who he's fought, Samuel Vargas, Adrian Granados, and Chris Algieri. And as you said, Chris Algieri definitely, you know, I mean, he's not the fighter he once was, but the way that he dispatched him was still impressive. I mean, I'm sure we will talk about that later on in one of the categories, but the knockout was pretty phenomenal. The way that he slumped down, like forward as well. So it was a really good knockout. That Adrian Granados one, I think he was a bit frustrated. Granados was on his toes and he was a bit impatient. I know you did that one, Mohammad. You covered that one. Samuel Vargas one was stopped too early, but again, like it looked like he was going to get him out of there. To be fair, so some notable wins, and he's improved leaps and bounds, no doubt, every single year. And if you think about when he first started, he was such a rough diamond. Like, I mean, he looked like he wouldn't even win a British title potentially because he looked like rough. Now he looks like someone who potentially might win a world title if they match him correctly. So that is a big step up in terms of potential. Keval, who did you put?
So I actually did have Conor Benn as well as my top one for the same reasons. He's had 3 fights this year, and I think, you know, considering 2 of them are knockout wins, I think he's done really well compared to his previous fights. And again, he's fighting more difficult opponents. I guess second place, I also wanted to add Joseph Parker on there because I feel like he fell off a little bit, maybe like last year, the year before, especially when he had a couple of losses. But then now he's joined Tyson Fury's training camp. I feel like he improved against his fight against Chisora. And his boxing abilities improved from when he fought Dillian Whyte, where he lost. And, you know, I just think he's got good potential going forward now.
Yeah, might be reasons he biased, but I agree with you in terms of 100%. Like he looked a lot better, didn't he, against Derek Chisora? I thought he was a lot more impressive, and especially under Andy Lee, looks improved. So, yeah, happy to give him an honorable mention as well. I've also got his Sonny Edwards, won his first world title against what's his name, Mutalani, I think it is.
Mutalani.
Mutalani, who's a long reigning champion. I think it's at I want to say flyweight.
Superfly or fly.
It's fly or superfly. It's a fly, and he's a long reigning champion. So and he's got power.
And he won
that was a
every
really
single
impressive
round.
Performance. 100%.
I think he won every single round, probably.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a questionable personality, but you can't question his ability. That's for sure. In the ring. How about you, Musharaf? Who did you pick?
Conor Benn. I think he definitely deserves it. You can't really question about him not taking harder fights, so he stepped up, and you just hope that he continues to do so and goes as far as he can.
Yeah, agreed. Yep, Conor Benn for most improved fighter of the year. Well done to him. This is a really interesting one. Most disappointing fighter of the year. I'll go to all of you guys first because I've got a couple of interesting ones. Musharaf, let's go with you first because you haven't gone with you first yet. Who have you got?
I've got a list of a few, but I'm pretty sure that I've left a few out. I think I picked the same guy last year. So my list is Jamel Charlo, so the older brother, Triple G, Gary Russell Jr. and Chris Eubank Jr.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Russell Jr. hasn't fought once this whole year, so
Yeah.
just inactivity. And Triple G hasn't really
I
fought
think
anyone
it's,
on note.
it's the same with Triple G, but I feel like the Triple G one's a bit harsh because, you know, he is like he's an old man now. But it's just like I've
He can
always been
choose
a
who he
big
wants to fight, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been a big Triple G fan, and it's just frustrating not to see him. It's more frustration than disappointment.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And Charlo,
100%.
I just he needs to unify basically.
Yeah, no, they need to put the Andre fight, don't they? It's just been going on for ages. It really has been. Mohammad, who have you put?
I think that list is a better suggestion than mine.
What do you have? Go on. Who do you have? Go on.
No,
I had
you should share.
difficulty trying to think of a disappointing fighter because of how difficult of a year 2021 has been, because so many fighters have been inactive and unable to have fights. And even though we both thought he was doing well, I put Billy Joe because
Okay.
I was disappointed with the fact that he quit in the middle of the fight when he's been digging at so many people for quitting during their fights. I thought that was disappointing. So I thought, well, I mean, you know, you should practice what you preach. And you know, if you believe you should go out on your stool, then you should have gone out on your stool yourself, which is obviously not the best thing to do anyway. But I thought for that reason he was the most disappointing fighter of the year. Plus he's outside the ring, he still has stuff to work on, to be honest, from a you know, a personality point of view, as someone to look up to in sport generally. So that's why I put Billy Joe, but I think that's harsh. I couldn't really think of anyone else to put down.
I feel like this is a personal attack on Billy Joe.
It's not. But I actually think probably I would say Eubank Jr. I might potentially see the reason for that instead, in place of mine, where I couldn't really think of anything and decided to go for Billy Joe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. Kevin, what about you?
Oh, you're not alone, Mo, because I actually put Billy Joe's on my list as well.
Really?
No.
His trash talk against Canelo Alvarez, saying he was going to do a lot and then he quit. So for that exact reason, I put him there.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, I've got a few here, and let me know what you guys think. So I did have Gary Russell Jr., but I think that's kind of like he's like an easy target, so I'll kind of discard him. I put Anthony Joshua. So you might be surprised, but he's only fought once this year. Everyone knows that I actually like AJ. Like I like the way he fights. I like how he is. But he fought once this year, lost to Usyk. The game plan that he employed was disappointing, not the right one clearly. And just the whole year is, you know, the whole now hoopla with the trainer. We don't know, is he staying with Robert McCracken? Is he not? Don't know what's going on with him. Doesn't look super focused. There's loads of like mixed messages. I think he's been really disappointing. And he's going to end the year without a single win. The Pulev win was December last year. So he's only fought once, which is really poor. And the last 2 years, he's only fought once as well. I know COVID has a bearing, but I think that's disappointing, right? To have a whole year having fought once and lost as well. So I've put him. And also Edgar Berlanga. So he definitely lost. It wasn't his last fight, but his fight before. We watched it. He was on the undercard of the Fury Wilder 3 fight. Mohammad and Keval, I think you were both here. We watched it. He's the guy. He's the kid with a slit in his. He had like a shape up and a slit. Edgar Berlanga. He's the guy who knocked everyone out in the first round.
16 fights in a row, I think, or 7, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, under top rank, and then he fought this. I think his name was Gerardo as well, or it was someone, or Quadrado maybe, someone along those lines. And let me have a look. And basically, he definitely lost that fight, but he got the decision. He got knocked down. If you guys remember, it was against Caceres, I think.
Oh, yeah, Billy Joe's fought
Caceres.
this guy.
Yeah, Caceres. So he lost. He definitely lost that fight, like 100%. Because I remember me, Mohammad, and Keval all like, how the heck has he won that fight? But I had him as well as a most disappointing fighter. But yeah, what do you guys think about our suggestion? Are you guys still going to stick with Billy Joe? Because I guess that's at the moment there.
Well, actually, you know, when you said AJ, I when I was thinking up disappointing fighters of the year, AJ did come to mind. But for some reason, I thought the Pulev fight was in 2021. So I thought, well, you know, at least he's won a fight this year, and then he had a bad end to the year. But you're right. He has lost his only fight this year. Then again, he has lost to Usyk, who is. Then again, Billy Joe lost to Canelo.
I think that's quite harsh to use that loss against him.
Yeah.
Like I'm not Team AJ, but I wouldn't put him as a disappointing fighter this year.
But to be fair, Canelo is probably the best fighter on the planet. So Billy Joe's pretty harsh as well, to be fair.
Exactly.
You can use that same
Yeah.
logic.
For me,
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
For me, if I had to pick from my list, and it's not just based on this year, I think it's like an accumulation of maybe 3, maybe 4 years. But Eubank Jr. is wasting his best years, in my opinion. Like he still hasn't. Well, I think the last time he fought for a world title was against George Groves, and that was in like 2017 or 18 maybe. And like he's been with Roy Jones for 2 years now, I think. And I think he was the most disappointing fight for me last year, and I don't think it's a coincidence that it's most disappointing again this year. Like I think he fought once, maybe I think this year against Marcus Morrison. He might have fought again, but
I think
I just think it's a disappointment because there's always been a big hype about him for like 5, 6, 7 years, and he's just failing to live up to it. And I feel like time's starting to run out.
Okay. What about you, Mohammad and Keval? What are your final picks?
I think it's between Eubank and BGS, and I actually think when Musharaf mentioned Eubank in his initial list, I did lean towards Eubank Jr. To be honest, I could go with Eubank Jr. personally.
Keval?
To be fair, I'm still more onto the Billy Joe Saunders one. I didn't watch the Eubank fight, so I'm not too sure about that.
That's fair.
But I'm basing it not just on the fight itself, but also the build up as well on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go with unanimous. Well, not unanimous. A majority decision of Eubank Jr. because Mohammad and Musharaf have gone with it. I'm happy to defer to that as well. But yeah, honourable mentions to BJ Saunders and Anthony Joshua, which I'm sure they don't want honourable mentions of.
Dishonourable mentions.
Fighter of the year.
Dishonourable mentions.
Yeah, dishonourable mentions, exactly. Yeah. Right, okay. Most disappointing fight of the year. I think this is quite interesting. We should go with first. Musharaf, do you want to go first?
Yeah, but I think I've approached this the wrong way. So this is the fight that disappointed me the most, rather than the fight itself being a disappointment. And it was one that you've mentioned earlier, Garcia against Sandor Martin. Because it was meant to be the fight where he comes back and that makes a statement and carries on as he was before he moved up. And he just looked. He was pretty bad throughout the whole fight. He had a few glimpses, but he didn't really do enough. And it was disappointing.
Fair enough. Keval?
So I kind of merged this a little bit with the disappointing fighter of the year, which is what you said. It's not, I don't know, it's more of an opinion thing, but I put Joshua versus Usyk as the most disappointing fight this year. But yeah, I haven't really sort of separated it so much from the disappointing fighter. I've kind of combined it a little bit there. I expected Joshua to kind of win, or there to have at least been a knockout in that fight, considering it's a big heavyweight fight. So that's why I kind of considered it a bit disappointing.
Yeah, I think it was actually probably more technical than the Wilder Fury fight, but not as exciting.
Yeah,
that's how I kind of saw it. But yeah, I can see why you've kind of
see it
thought
like
about
lack
that
of
as well.
knockdowns, lack of too much. It was a lot. So that's what it was.
I think definitely from a casual perspective as well. I think in general, looking at which some of our subscriber base are, that they will look at that fight and just be like, "Oh, okay, it's okay," but they won't appreciate maybe some of the technical aspects, which is understandable as well. To be fair, Mohammad, what about you?
So, because I was streaming it, the Mauricio Lara Warrington 2 fight, because we were hyped up for so long leading up to that fight, and then for it to end in round 2 as a result of an accidental clash of heads, that was disappointing for me, because I was interested in seeing whether Warrington could actually avenge the loss. So that's my disappointing fight of the year, because of the fact that it was such an anticlimax.
No, I agree with you. Actually, I think that I had something else, but I would put that as the most disappointing. I think the clash of heads was really disappointing. I don't think he'll fight him again as well. They should fight again, but I think they will to kind of settle it. But I think Warrington will take it as an out now to say, "Oh, I don't need to fight him again." But that was very disappointing because it was really heating up as well after the first few rounds. So that would have been an exciting fight, no matter what the outcome. Okay, so I think two of us have put that. So we'll go with that. We'll go with Warrington Lara 2. But I understand Sandor Martin, Mikey Garcia, and also, to be fair, even AJ Usyk as well. As honourable mentions or dishonourable mentions as its most disappointing fight of the year. Fighter of the year, which I think will be quite a quick one. Let's go with you, Keval, first, because I don't think I'll ask you first yet. Fighter of the year?
And the fighter of the year, I think that would have to go to, I don't know if I might have mentioned it previously, but I'd give it to Tyson Fury just because of his incredible stoppage win against Wilder.
No, you didn't mention it, okay.
And I think I'm not just looking at it from a fight perspective, but more also what he's achieved from like coming off the rails a little bit to going back into boxing to winning. I think that's quite impressive that, not many boxers can do that when they've gone off to come back and then to have a steady win streak like that.
Fair enough. Mohammad?
I have the same thing. That's because I'm obviously I support him quite a lot. So I went for Tyson Fury. He's only had one fight though this year, but he did win it, and it was a really exciting fight. And he put on a performance. It was entertaining, and is still undefeated. And I think he must still be pound for pound #1 British fighter. So I mean, it makes sense to consider him as fighter of the year still. So I've gone for him.
Interesting. Musharaf?
Massive Fury fan, but he can't. For me, he can't be fighter of the year. And my two choices were the obvious one in Canelo, and I think a dark horse is Josh Taylor.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Josh Taylor. Most people won't give it to him, but like the most obvious and popular choice is Canelo because he's cleaned up his division and he's just going to start fighting aliens soon. But
yeah.
I think what Josh Taylor's done is going really under the radar. I didn't realize that he wasn't even nominated for what is it called? Sports
BBC
Personality.
Sports Personality of the Year.
Yeah, so
yeah,
very under the radar. But
I mean,
deserves
to be
big
fair,
props.
Mohammad, I think Josh Taylor's the best pound for pound British fighter.
Yeah,
I think Josh Taylor is personally, but I can see why Fury's up there as well. But yeah, I mean, he's undisputed. I think he only had one fight this year, which might go against him a little bit. I think Canelo, you've got to give it to him because he became undisputed by beating, forget about the Yildirim fight, that's at the start of the year, but then he beat Big Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant to become undisputed at super middleweight. And you have to remember that Caleb Plant and Big Joe Saunders are two undefeated fighters. And that, to be fair, if Callum Smith was December last year, but if that had come into January, he would have fought 3 undefeated fighters and won belts of all of them. So I think Canelo for me is just like it's impossible not to give it to him. I know Tyson Fury had a really good win because that win is incredible, but it's one win compared to 3.
I'm shifting to Canelo. I agree, actually. I actually think Canelo does deserve it. To be honest, I don't know, Kev, if you agree or not. I actually think.
I wouldn't mind shifting to Canelo because I actually do have Canelo down for a few categories as well. So Canelo can go up there.
We're all Mexican beef enthusiasts. So Canelo gets fighter of the year. Well done to him. Right, funniest moment of the year. I've got a couple here, but I will go with Mohammad first because he's laughing. So
I'm giving this one to Canelo. I'm giving this one to Canelo as well. If you had seen him in his post-fight conference after he beat Billy Joe Saunders and the UFC fighter Kamaru Usman, I think it was Kamaru Usman.
No, Andrade.
Was it someone else?
Demetrius Andrade.
Was it Demetrius Andrade? Oh, okay, fine. So it was it was Andrade. So he was like, "Oh, I want to fight you," and Canelo was like,
"Horrible
payday.
It's a horrible payday."
He's a horrible fighter.
I know you want payday.
You can bleep it out. He's like, like, get the F out of here. Get the F out of here.
Yeah. That was hilarious.
He's like, I'm gonna slap your pussy. He's like, yeah. Payday. You want payday? I love it. Absolutely love it, man.
Was that Canelo speak English for the first time, wasn't it?
So he's spoken English before, but publicly. Not much. And publicly came out and did that. And I think it was just really well received because he came across as like a really big personality, and it was just really like savage as well. So it was hilarious. It definitely endeared him more to the fans as well. I reckon Eddie Hearn probably told him to do it, knowing him. You should probably do a press conference in English if you're comfortable enough doing it. and he just basically shut Andre up, and it was all over the place. Like people have made sound buttons out of it on YouTube channels and all sorts. The payday, you want payday, but it's just hilarious. I know that, but it's just it's absolutely hilarious. That's definitely a good one. Keval, what did you put?
I actually had Canelo for that same reason, but I was also basing it on his press conference against Billy Joe Saunders. I think it was quite funny because he actually had almost like a full-on fight in there. But I did watch that YouTube clip of Canelo speaking English, saying the same things. So I actually put him down for the same reason.
Nice. Musharaf?
Unfortunately, I wasn't too creative with this one, and I didn't really come up with anything. But I've thought of one now, and it's Usyk going viral for I'm very Phil. So if you, because we've been watching IFL for a long time, he says it a lot. But after obviously beating Joshua, I'm very Phil went viral, and yeah, that was quite cool.
Yeah, agreed. I've got a couple here as well, like kind of left field ones. Got Plant getting countered in the press conference, which is hilarious. So Canelo counters him, and he cuts him basically, which was like superhuman countering skills from Canelo. And also, there's a weird one, which is actually in the article I sent you guys, but you probably haven't seen this. But it was this guy called Kevin Saggio beat Jack Cullen in a DAZN show and started doing press ups.
He started doing press ups. Yeah, I watched that fight.
and the referee told him off.
Told him off. Yeah.
It's hilarious. But I think the general consensus is the Canelo payday post press conference for the Canelo. Well, what was that? That was after the Plant victory, wasn't it? I think. But yeah, that was a really was it Billy Joe?
I thought it was after the Billy Joe fight.
It was Billy Joe. You're right.
There's a lot of misinformation about where and who it was and all that stuff.
No, it was after Billy Joe, and it was with Demetrius Andrade. 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely went viral for sure. Okay, right, we've got here craziest moment of the year. I'm sure there'll be a few. Keval, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I put a controversial one down of being the Jake Paul one versus Woodley. I think, yeah, some people will disagree. I think it's crazy, not just because it's such a big knockout, but now I'm starting to think of the controversies of, is it even staged or not? Because if it is, then that's even crazier that they've gotten away with that. But
a little hand.
It's just such a crazy moment because it's just such it's gone so viral and there's been so many memes about it as well.
Fair enough. So, Mohammad? That's fair enough.
Funnily enough, I put Jake Paul, but for the reason that the fact that he's relevant is probably the craziest moment of the year. The fact that YouTubers are taking up this much of the boxing space, which I think is good for boxing generally, because it at least brings people's attention to boxing again, which is I think has been in a kind of to and fro with UFC sometimes. I think UFC is getting a lot of popularity over the past few years, and maybe to the detriment of people who enjoy boxing. But I think the whole entrance of Jake Paul into mainstream boxing chats and fights and watch-alongs is pretty crazy. So I put Jake Paul for that reason. I don't think he's faked or staged any of his fights. So I think all the knockouts, all the actual genuine knockouts, I actually don't think it's staged. I think it's all real. But at the same time, he's not a professional boxer. So I think if he actually went into the ring with a proper professional boxer, he'd probably face more challenging issues. So, but yeah, Jake Paul, that's mine.
You're really disappointed, Musharaf, I can tell. I've got here a few. So I've got just generally the British judges and their scoring, unbelievably crazy throughout the whole year. It's not really a moment; it's more throughout the whole year. It's just been horrific. One of the cards, for example, Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora was 114, 112, and Derek Chisora got dropped 3 times. So it makes absolutely no sense how that happened. I've also got here, I don't know if anyone saw it, but Maxi Hughes, I've had on the channel actually. He won his IBO title, and he basically ended up KOing his opponent, Highland Jr. And when he did it, the ref basically told them they could carry on fighting, but Highland Jr. didn't think they were carrying on. So his back was turned, and then Maxi Hughes hit him and knocked him out after he dropped him. So it was a really bizarre moment where the ref basically hadn't communicated well enough with the fighter the fighter thought they'd stop, but the other fighter thought they were carrying on, and like it was basically the ref's fault. And I've got this is the most crazy one for me is a ref throwing the towel out of the ring, which was Steve Gray. So so Lewis Ritson versus Steve Ponce on I think it's a DAZN show for the European title, and Lewis Ritson's getting absolutely beaten up. His ring throws the towel into the ring, and then the ref throws the towel out of the ring and lets it carry on, and then stops it later on. It was ridiculously weird.
The heck? Why?
Yeah,
why?
I've just remembered one that I want to add, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Aside from all the Jake Paul stuff, I think Logan Paul versus Floyd is pretty crazy if you think about it.
Yeah,
Yes.
In all aspects, because one's like well over 6 foot, Floyd's what 5'7", 5'8", and the fact that he's managed to get himself in a position to do that in the first place is just nuts. Anyway, so
yeah, agreed.
and it was
And that
fast.
was a draw. Yeah.
Well, it's exhibition. It's not scored. It's not scored.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I didn't watch. I watched the clips on Instagram like everyone else.
I mean Mayweather's not boxing properly though. He's just
He's money
playing around with
making.
it.
They're both money making, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean Logan Paul would have been trying to knock him out, but he's not good enough to. So it doesn't matter. Like he can swing as much as he wants. Yeah. Well, what do you guys think? Are you still sticking with your answers? I just think the one with the ref throwing the towel at the ring was hilarious. It was like crazy. I've never seen that before.
I think that. Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I wasn't aware of that fight, to be
I need
honest.
to watch that on YouTube. But yeah.
Why would you do that? I mean, the point is you're supposed to care about
Exactly.
safety of the
It
fight.
doesn't make
If
any
they throw
sense.
the towel into the ring and you throw it out, what's the purpose of you throwing the towel out? It doesn't make any sense.
Because that means he's acknowledged it as well, so it doesn't make any sense.
He's basically like, no, your corner's wrong. You can carry on. Take some more punishment. Chucks it out.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I'll give it to that, to be honest.
Oh, right. Okay. Steve Gray infamously gets craziest moment of the year for throwing the towel out of the ring. British Fighter of the Year. I think this will be relatively quick. Keval, who'd you put?
You know what? Funny enough, I wanted to try avoid the obvious one of Tyson Fury, and I actually went for Josh Taylor.
Yeah.
Just because I guess as much as Tyson Fury was about to be up there, I just think Josh's win against Ramirez, if that's how you pronounce it, was kind of like what made Ramirez was what made me go towards him to win those two, the WBC and WBO titles. Of course, second would be Tyson Fury, so it's between them two.
Yeah, fair enough. Musharaf?
Josh Taylor for me.
Yeah, quick and easy. Mohammad?
Yeah, same. Josh Taylor.
Yeah, I thought it'd be easy. Yeah, Josh Taylor for me as well. Win over Jose Carlos Ramirez for the WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO World Super Lightweight titles. Undisputed champ and well deserved.
Ring Magazine too. Don't forget.
Ring Magazine. Sorry, yeah, Ring Magazine as well, of course. Yep. Women's Fighter of the Year. I've actually got a few here, but I'll chuck them out first because I've got a few. I've got Chantel Cameron, the British fighter, unified in her weight class. I think I want to say super lightweight. Might be super welterweight, actually. No, super lightweight, I think. I've got Michaela Meyer, who did the same thing, unified as well. So two straps, same as Chantel Cameron. Alicia Baumgardner, who beat Terry Harper, knocked her out. Like, she's got ridiculous power. And looks like, obviously in the women's game, you don't have as many people and as many fighters with the type of power that you see in the men's game as much because, one, the rounds are shorter. And so that kind of doesn't help as well. But she seems to have ridiculous power. She knocked a spark out Terry Harper. And Casey Taylor is like an obvious one, but then I don't think she's had a fantastic year, so I wouldn't give it to her. But I'll go to you guys. Mohammad, who have you got?
I can defer to your choices, but I put Katie Taylor as because of the fact that she just continues winning and she dominates every fight that she fights. So on that basis, I put Katie Taylor. But okay. I think you've done more research than me, so I'm happy to defer to your choice as well if the other guys want to go for those ones.
I'm more looking at like the quality and volume of work just for the year. I think if we were choosing who is the best fighter in the women's game, then it's probably Katie Taylor.
She has
or Claretta Shields, but
she's had three. I mean, she's had three fights. She's won all of them. It's more than a lot of the guys.
Who she fought though? She hasn't really fought apart from Natasha Jonas.
Yeah.
Who's never won a world title. She hasn't really fought anyone. If you get what I mean, that's mainly why. But no, I get what you mean. We'll stick that in the mix. Keval, what about you?
I put Katie Taylor as well for the same reason as Mo, and she's well known to me. But I think based on if we're looking at 2021 only, I understand your one's probably a bit more like bigger for the year.
Okay, fair enough. Musharaf?
Katie Taylor's the easy choice, but because it was one of the few ladies fights that I saw during the year. Baumgardner.
Yeah,
because that was a surprising KO win, and yeah, she was really good. I'm pretty sure she won like every single round up until she knocked her out, and she knocked her out on her feet. She didn't even drop, I don't think.
Yeah, she literally looked like her soul left her. If you haven't watched the knockout, guys, make sure watch it. It's crazy. Like Terry Harper looks like she has completely lost her senses. When
it was on the Kid
out.
Galahad undercard. That's why I remember it.
Yeah, unbelievable knockout. And she's fought. She also fought another girl, Vanessa Bradford, but she's not as well known earlier in the year as well. Okay, I'm happy to go Katie Taylor because I feel like all of you have mentioned her, so that's fine. But yeah, honourable mentions for sure to Chantel Cameron. She'll probably become undisputed next year. She's fighting another unified champion. Same with Michaela Meyer. She will fight Baumgardner probably. So that'll be a really good fight. So there's some really good fights coming up in the women's game, which are definitely hot. It's becoming more exciting. I find myself watching more women's fights as well. Probably as well because Eddie Hearn's putting more on and on some decent undercards. So definitely interesting for sure. Okay, knockout of the year. This is interesting. So we'll go with you first, Mohammad. What have you put?
Oscar Valdez and his left hook knockout against Miguel Berchelt. So that was, I think, February 2021, and he just properly slept him. And he was the underdog in the fight, and won the, I think, WBC super featherweight title as well. So it was a big fight for him. He was the underdog, and he absolutely slept him in the 10th round. I think that was a banger of a knockout.
There's a bit of an asterisk around there though, because I think he, if I'm not mistaken, he was positive after for traces of PEDs, but he got away with it. I don't know how, but
and
anyways.
they allowed him to fight.
Knockout.
Still a great knockout. It was. To be fair, it's a great knockout. We'll reward the use of PEDs. Keval, what have you put?
You know what? I actually put Kid Galahad's knockout against Jazza Dickens because we watched this together, and I think this one wasn't like a clean one-punch knockout, but if you looked at Jazza Dickens, like how much blood was coming out of him and how brutal it looked.
Beating. To be fair.
I just thought that was the craziest knockout because it was just such a tough way to go.
Yeah, no offense, Jazza Dickens. You're a friend of the show. We've had you on for an interview, so don't take it personally.
Sorry, I should have thought that.
No, that's fine. He probably doesn't watch it. Musharaf, what about you?
Valdez was on my list. Valdez was on my list, but not my first choice. First choice is Gabe Rosado against Melikusiev.
Okay, yeah. Mohammad's frantically looking at the highlights of the knockout.
Lads, I'll give you 30 seconds to watch it right now. You need to will that up. Because firstly,
was
Gabe
it
looked at like a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Just search Gabriel Rosado.
I'm just checking. I know Gabe, but I like him a lot as a fighter.
Scary name.
Gabe always has like the toughest wars with people.
He's seen as a gatekeeper.
He was expected to lose that fight as well. He slept him.
Exactly.
So
and he destroyed him.
Yeah.
One punch. Good night. Turns his lights off. No PEDs. No nothing.
No PEDs. I'll chuck some in whilst you guys are looking. So I'm assuming everyone's seen the Ben Algiri knockout. I thought that was
a good one too. Yeah.
Similar to the Baumgardner one, like where Algiri he lost consciousness, slumped forward, and I was like, oh shit! Like the way that he got hit, I was like, whoa. To be fair, even the Fury Wilder 3 knockout was pretty damn good from Fury. He slept him really in the end. And I've also got here Callum Smith versus Castillo. That was brutal. That's the one, Mohammad, that we watched on the undercard of AJ Usyk. I remember they wouldn't show the replay.
AJ.
Because that was brutal. And I actually think that's probably the best one.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's a bit harsh, but he was okay after, so I'm okay to say it. But he got absolutely wrecked by that shot. It was ridiculous.
I'm giving it to Gabe from me. I'm giving it to Gabe. I just saw it, and I like Gabe. So I might as well give it to Gabe.
Okay,
And
cool.
he wasn't on
And it's
PEDs,
because
so...
Melikusiev was like meant to be like the next big thing, and he just stopped him
Yeah,
in his
he
tracks.
was. Yeah. Let's give it to him. Gabe Rosado
So-
versus Melikusiev. Yeah, very, very good knockout. I'm happy to go with that. I think the fact that he was an underdog as well probably gives it a bit extra spice. Okay, we've got a couple of the last two then. A couple of interesting ones, more looking towards 2022. So who's your fighter to watch in 2022? So this is pretty subjective. It's more someone who you're looking forward to watching. Can be a champion, can be someone who's a prospect, can be whoever you want. I'll go to you first, Keval. Who have you got?
I've put Oleksandr Usyk because obviously he's heavyweight champion now, so he's going to have a lot of good fights coming up. The rematch with Joshua, other fights. I've also put Joe Joyce as well because he's a good prospect, but I'd go with Usyk.
Nice, yeah, fair enough. Mohammad?
So I also put Joe Joyce, but I also put Daniel Dubois. They're both obviously interconnected given their fight last year. But I'm just interested to see what 2022 holds for them because one, Joe Joyce is getting older. You know, I think he's 36 now. He's coming to the latter ends of his career, I would imagine, and you know, he hasn't got many further years to fight at top level, and he's still got those challenges of having like proper top heavyweight fights that he hasn't necessarily had yet. He had a good fight against Takam. He is very slow, but he's got such a good chin that you do want to see him pit up against some of the
Deontay
more
Wilder.
bigger names. Yeah, like some of the bigger names in the heavyweight division. So that's why I put Joe Joyce, but I also put Daniel Dubois because a lot of people wrote him off at the end of last year because of his loss against Joe Joyce. And since then, I think he's probably put his head down more, focused on trying to build his skill set, hasn't been in the limelight as much, so maybe isn't under that type of pressure to put on a good show unnecessarily or make silly decisions or get hyped when he doesn't have to. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what 2022 holds for him as well, because he's obviously a young fighter, one of the future potentially of British heavyweight boxing because he's so young. So it'll be interesting to see how far he gets in 2022. That's why I put both of them together.
Okay, Musharaf?
I picked two. So second choice is Virgil Ortiz.
Yep.
So instead of putting him as a prospect or improved, I think he's him and Jaron Ennis as the two big next up and comers in the welterweight division, I think.
Yep.
But my number one choice, the fighter that I'm most excited to watch in 2022 is what George Kambosos does.
Oh yeah, that's mine. George Kambosos is mine. And because I'm the chief, I get to overrule. So George Kambosos is going to be the fighter to watch in 2022. But yeah, George Kambosos.
Sorry, lads.
I'm really
Kambosos,
excited to see what he does after that win. I imagine his next fight will be in Australia, and it'll either be against Lomachenko or Devin Haney. So I think no matter what happens, he's going to be an exciting fight, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with him and how he fares against the others. Whether that was, I don't think it is. I think he'll still give a good account of himself no matter who he fights. But it's just interesting to see how he fares against the others there. That whole lightweight division is good. We need to just keep on seeing big fights. Hopefully we do. Fight we want to see in 2022. Keval, we'll go with you first.
Based on press conferences, I'm going to say Wilder versus Whyte. I think it'll just be fireworks in there. And I think it'll be great. So
Whyte Fury will be fireworks, and that might actually happen as well, to be fair.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I just feel like Wilder, I don't know. I feel like Wilder's just going to cause a massive scene like he always does. But yeah, you're right, actually. Wilder and Whyte and Fury would be really good too.
Yeah, agreed. No, both of them, yeah. Musharaf, what about you?
I've got a list. Do you want me to go last?
No, go for it. Hit us.
Okay, cool. I still want to see AJ Fury. To be fair, like a lot of mine are like groups of fighters in divisions. So I want to see AJ Fury. I want to see Fury against Whyte. I want to see AJ against Wilder. Like, unlikely that any of these are gonna happen apart from AJ and Whyte. But sorry, Fury and Whyte. But the other day I was watching a Frank Warren interview, and he said that because of the arbitration, Whyte Fury won't happen next. So I don't know what's going on there, and if it's true. But we'll see. Next on the list is I want to see Loma against Teofimo. I want the rematch because I think it was quite inconclusive the first time around. Obviously, Teofimo won, and fair play to him, but it wasn't like a conclusive win where you can say, yeah, he's definitely better than him. And that goes to the rest of the lightweights. So Tank, Haney, Garcia, Kambosos. I want to see more matchmaking in there because that's one of the hottest divisions at the moment. And it's a shame to kind of let it go to waste. What else do I have? Spence Crawford, which I think is closer than ever now that Crawford's left top rank. So
I don't know
if he makes the sensible decision of going to PBC, then we're close. But I don't think we'll ever see it. If
no, I don't.
I don't think we'll ever see it.
Yeah, for me, Spence Crawford. Sorry, go on, carry on. I think you got a few more, haven't you? Go on.
Yeah, two more. Estrada Chocolatito, but I think that's going to get made or was made already.
Yeah, the trilogy. Yeah.
And the last one, wild card. I actually said this last year, I think too, but I think the way he's gone this year, it's it makes more sense than ever, and I think it'll just be nuts to watch. Canelo against Beterbiev.
Beterbiev. I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, Canelo Beterbiev. Yeah. I mean, apparently he's going to fight a cruiserweight, so I don't know. But if he does, I think he'll fight a cruiserweight, then he'll come down to light heavyweight. That's what he did last time. He fought Kovalev at light heavyweight, then he came down to super middleweight and then cleaned up. So I think either way, he will have a fight at light heavyweight. It'll be interesting if he goes straight to Beterbiev. I'll be surprised, but he might do. If he's clever, he waits a year or so and waits for Beterbiev to get old because
Beterbiev's getting old. That's why I think there's a rush to get it on.
Agreed. I think otherwise, the more and more it goes on, the more chance Canelo has. But at the moment, I think Beterbiev sleeps him. I don't know if that's even possible because Canelo's never been dropped. But if anyone can do it, it's probably Beterbiev.
Exactly. That's why. Yeah. That's why I think it's really good. Like it will be such a good watch because.
Yeah.
To be fair, Beterbiev's been dropped by Callum Johnson of all
people. He has.
Yeah. Like really.
Yeah, he can get dropped. Well, Callum Johnson's got big. He's got big power though. Callum Johnson, to be fair. That's one thing he does have.
But I think it'll be an insane fight.
100%.
Beterbiev's like the Khabib of boxing.
He is. He is, to be fair. He is. Doesn't get enough credit. I've got Spence Crawford, and like you, I think he will go to PBC. And the biggest issue is that I think Spence versus Ugas is being ordered. So I think someone stepped the mandatory for Ugas has been.
And I've seen that there's rumors that Spence is going to move up to 154.
I think he'll fight Ugas and then he'll say to Crawford, look, I want 75-25 because I've got 3 of the belts as a split. And Crawford will be like, no, thank you. See you later. And then they'll either both move up or one of them will move up. And it's just, it's a mess. Yeah. It's a long time coming. If we don't get it, it'll be a real shame. I actually think Crawford will win. But either way, I want to see it. I think it'll be a really, really good fight. Is there anything else you guys want to touch upon? That's all our awards. But any thoughts on the year or anything else you want to discuss for the upcoming year as well?
I just hope there's no more fights sort of cancelled with the COVID situation and all that, and it all goes back to normal.
Yeah, because I think they've been cancelled in January and February. Isn't it?
In January, I was just about to say. I think the British board have cancelled all shows, and Queensberry have said no to shows in February, just as like a precautionary measure. So. Yeah. No fights till March, guys. In the UK, anyway.
Well, we'll have Brooke Khan in. Isn't that in February?
That's in February.
February 29th. But we missed tickets for that classic because it was in my spam folder. But yeah, anyway, classic. But yeah, that's fine. Anyway, it's what it is. I'm sure we'll be streaming it if we're not watching it, but we'll watch it for sure. But yeah, thanks very much, guys. Really do appreciate it. That's our QualityShot Boxing Awards for 2021. Look forward to seeing you guys in the new year. Thank you, Mohammad, Keval, and Musharaf. And if you haven't already, please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. And of course, we will be back with some live streams and commentary as always in the new year. Have a fantastic rest of the year and new year as well, guys. Stay safe and well. Thank you very much.